Well, we've talked about races for the ages, and the Nunthorpe could be just that. We've got a clash of a filly and a colt that have been absolutely superb this season, and there's plenty more in behind as well. Should we kick off with Ascot form and the King's Stand? And the Lady A, the mighty Lady A, we'll roll it on. We'll pick them out for you very shortly. We knew what she'd done previously in the Queen Mary last year at Royal Ascot. There was talk of whether she could do it again. Well, yes, she could, in slightly different fashion early on. You can see her just near side. She doesn't absolutely go out and blitz them. Wesley Ward had done plenty of work trying to get her to settle, and it seemed against some quicker horses here than she was up against last year, she could just settle in behind. But goodness me, Chris, she was mighty impressive.
There's the run-up that you've completely covered, and
yes,
there is the third horse, Marcia. So we've got Lady Aurelia, Profitable, and Marcia, the 1, 2, 3. And I think you're right, it was a different display, wasn't it, from Lady Aurelia to that real gung-ho brazenness of last year as a juvenile. This was more controlled speed, I think, but very, very impressive all the same. Just look at how strongly she hits the line. She was drawn on the flank a little bit, which can be a little bit of a disadvantage at times, but for a horse with her style, probably doesn't matter too much. And she's just too good for them all. Look at how other horses and high-class horses, Group 1, are having to work just to try and keep tabs on her, and they're just not capable of doing it.
It was the afterburners there, because she was under pressure, and I thought, well, look, it's not going to happen. But the afterburners suddenly kicked in, and whoosh, it was nice to see her doing that at the end of the race. Like you say, the controlled speed early, and then the finish that just absolutely blitzed the rest of them.
Yeah, she doesn't feel the stick either, does she? It's all hands and heels pushing out. It's just natural pace and exuberance and talent, and she's just too good for them. Now, she was getting quite a bit of weight from those horses. As a 3-year-old filly, she was getting £9 and £5, I think it was, from the horses that she got the better of, Profitable and Marcia, who both have top quality form themselves, and she did completely obliterate them. Maybe on the back of that, at that stage, it was looking like Lady Aurelia would be very hard to beat in the Nunthorpe at the back end of the season, or later on in the season. But since then, another high-class sprinter has emerged.
And it was nice, just to mention for Chris, to see a horse Profitable running well again there, and of course has subsequently been even better than that. A horse that you mentioned at the start of the season as a sprinter to go to war with.
Yeah, I didn't really foresee this horse that we're going to talk about now coming up there, and that is Batash, who at the start of this season wouldn't have been on the radar of too many people for this level of race, but this season he has been a revelation since he was gelded.
Yeah, he was 2 from 2 coming into this, running different style of races at Sandown, one slowly away, one better away. This was, I think, a more complete performance from the horse. He managed to take cover into the race. They headed towards that far side, so he was well drawn where that bias tended to be. We'll just pick them up here and highlight them, so we know where the winner is, and eventually in behind, finishing second.
Yeah, they're all together, so you've got Profitable there and Marcia is just there in the black and white colours. So actually a 1, 2, 3. They're all over towards that far side of the track, which probably was an advantage by this point of the meeting, but I don't think that actually has any bearing on the result. I'm sure that they would have beaten these horses anyway. And when you're looking at how far Batash beats them by, the horses that he beats, he races on the same ground as them. Now, worth bearing in mind, these are the same 2 horses that we've just seen Lady Aurelia beating, and he beats them in similar sort of fashion, and he isn't getting the weight that she was getting. So he's getting a bit, but not as much, and he's every bit as impressive. So this is the thing that marks it down as a fantastic clash between the pair of them.
Jim Crowley said afterwards, he was paying tribute to this horse, just how quick he is, how good he is, and when asked, how much he found as well. These are speedsters in behind him, but look at what he does to the rest of them. How do you split these two then that we've looked at, the winning form of the King's Stand against the winning form of this King George Sprint? How do you see it shaping up?
It's not easy to split them. I think they are 2 really high-class sprinters with quite closely matched up form. As I say, you look, they've beaten the same horses by similar margins. He wasn't getting the kind of weight that Lady Aurelia was getting from the pair of them earlier on in the season at Royal Ascot, but then he's got to give her a few pounds. So, you know, they are closely matched horses on that form, and I think it'll be a fantastic clash between them. Marginal preference is just for Batash. I think he's really progressing all the time. I think there's more to come. And Lady Aurelia, her 2 real sparkling standout performances have been at Ascot, so will she do it away from there at York? She might well do, and Batash hasn't been there either. But I just prefer him.
And just on that very quickly, that York track, that flying 5 of York, it really is a swift 5, isn't it?
It is, but these are 2 extremely fast horses, so I don't think it'll be an inconvenience to either.
It is shaping up to be an absolute Nunthorpe for the ages, and we can hear from one of the jockeys who has a very exciting ride in the race now.
Frankie, you've just given Lady Aurelia her pre-Nunthorpe workout. How does she feel?
Feel great. I mean, I haven't rode her since last year in the Chivley Park. Obviously, I saw her before Ascot, but I never actually sat on her. She hasn't overly grown. She's still the same size, but she hasn't lost her speed. And this morning, especially with the tailwind, I felt like I was going a million miles an hour.
But when you got on her and you said it's quite breezy today, were you keen to just see what she could do?
Yeah, no, basically I spoke to Wesley and he wanted a decent work because obviously she hasn't run since the King's Stand, and yeah, I let her stretch out to get familiar with the track, and yeah, she felt great.
I'm going to talk about, obviously, Royal Ascot. You had to sit it out, but in ways, knowing that you were hopefully going to get back on her, how impressed were you with what she did in the King's Stand?
I think it was an almighty performance. Even I was taken. You know, she brushed aside some great horses, older, and I think it was a great performance.
Mentally, what's she like?
She's lovely. She typical sprinter. She's on her toes, and you know, she's got 2 switches, slow and fast, nothing in between. And I mean, last year we tried really hard to get her to run over 6 furlongs. We got away with it in the morning, and we got beat in the Chivley Park. I mean, 5 furlongs is ideal for her, so that's it was a good choice of Wesley to keep her over 5 this year, and it seems to work the trick.